Welcome to NARAL's The Morning After. Each Thursday, our podcast brings you the latest on reproductive health care, progressive politics, and the fight to keep abortion safe and legal. NARAL's The Morning After is a production of NARAL Pro-Choice Ohio. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Pro-Choice OH. Enjoy the show.
Hi, I'm Jaime.
Hi, I'm Randi.
Hi, I'm Gabe. And so before we started recording, we just got done trying to figure out what day it is and how many days into the Trump administration.
Still very hard words to speak.
I don't like it on my
out loud.
mouth. I don't like to say it on my Yeah, it hurts.
Samantha Bee did you see the video?
Yes.
No.
Samantha Bee had a terrific video. She sent her staff around, hit that record button on there. She sent her staff around at the inauguration to talk to Trump supporters one more time. And, it was the sort of standard Daily Show, Colbert Report,
yeah.
Samantha Bee, they're making fun of
They
people.
do the same thing in like the RNC. And
Yeah.
It was that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Until the very end. The very end, they've got one of their correspondents, this sort of petite young woman with a British accent.
Uh-huh.
And she's talking to this huge guy, and he's got like the big Fu Manchu mustache and a cowboy hat, and
this crazy "Make America Great Again" T-shirt that wasn't like just plain; it was like crazy colored. And
he was a good.
He
old
was
boy.
in it.
Yeah, he was in it.
He was like, "Oh, this is great! I love this,"
Uh-huh.
And she's standing there talking to him, and she's asking him the sort of questions, and she pauses and she's like, wait a minute, I know you. He's like, yeah, you do. You made fun of me before. Well, apparently they had interviewed the same guy, and so then they cut and they showed the footage before.
Yeah, they went to Iowa and they ran into the same guy in Iowa, and she made fun of him in Iowa.
As they did all the other Trump people.
During the
it's a comedy
primary
show.
Yeah.
And she suddenly had this realization that they had made fun of this man before, that she personally had mocked him on television. And
So why did he agree to be interviewed again?
well, because now he was at the Trump inauguration and his guy won.
Oh, okay.
And I swear it drew tears to my eyes because suddenly she realized that this person that she was mocking was the victor in this situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so she said, and so she just kind of admitted, she's like, since you won, would you like to make fun of me? And he was just like, I need to hear you say it. President Donald Trump. And she stood there and she couldn't get the words out of her mouth. And I knew exactly how that felt because I don't want to say those words.
No, I don't say it.
Oh, God, it's horrible.
I love it. Last night, Lawrence Fishburne was on The Daily Show talking about his movie that's going to come on BET called Madiba, and it's him portraying Nelson Mandela.
Nice.
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of previews for it because I've been watching also the New Edition movie. Plug for that. Anyway, it was awesome. But yeah, he was talking about, he just calls him 45.
That sounds like a great plan.
Yeah, he was like, I don't like give it. Yeah, he was like, we don't need to focus on what 45 is doing. We need to focus on what we're going to do. I'm like,
although we do need to focus on what 45 is doing because as we were having this conversation, it's funny. I've been seeing a meme of Captain Picard from Star Trek Next Generation with it's actually him sitting in the captain's report with, how you feel every day in 2017. And the bottom of it says, damage report.
Yes.
Right.
And so, and actually one of my Facebook friends who works for one of the national organizations she started it like the day after inauguration, and somebody said, you need to do this every day. She does. She runs, it's close of business today. What's today's damage report? And it's ridiculous and scary and terrifying. And I don't know all the words to look at the rundown of everything. I mean, yesterday, totally unrelated to like stuff we generally talk to on this podcast. Yesterday, he destroyed relations with Mexico on Twitter. Like we all thought he would.
Yeah.
But it actually happened yesterday.
Yeah.
And so
I don't like guacamole or avocados that much, but other people who do, you should
The
be
rest of
concerned.
us love them.
Yeah, exactly. Y'all should be concerned.
Well, and beyond that, I mean, I was reading an article about how, yes, we do the final manufacturing of bunches of Fords, Chryslers, all kinds of cars in the United States.
Mhm.
You know where all those parts come to put them together in those plants in the United States?
Right.
Yeah.
Mexico.
Yeah.
Right.
So if you're going to tariff those parts coming in, you're going to destroy the American auto industry here, that he
Yeah.
wants them to build more plants. Like, dude, that doesn't actually work.
Right.
Yeah. How is it supposed to help us? And I read that we're going to pay for the wall by putting a 20% tariff on imports
From Mexico. Yep.
But how is that helping us, putting a 20% tax on it? And we're not even.
It's going to
No.
punish us and them because we would have to pay for it and they would lose sales.
Yes.
Which somebody says, hey, then you're just going to put more Mexicans out of business and they're going to try and immigrate into the United States looking for jobs.
Yeah.
He's a fucking. I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think
he's such an idiot.
I think there's a
Like,
big percentage of
why?
this country that uses the term Mexicans as a slur, and those
Yes.
people are horrible
Mhm.
human beings.
Yes.
But the rest of us fit into these two categories. We
Yeah.
either love having, cheap parts for stuff made in
Mhm.
Mexico, or we really like Mexican culture.
Yes.
I mean, and
I
maybe
wanted
some
a
of it's
taco
based in
truck on every
stereotypes.
corner.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm good with
A
that.
taco truck on every corner.
Sounds good.
know, some-
Delicious.
Some Cuervo in my margarita. This is a fun
Yes.
thing.
Yes.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Like, and then people, and it's like the outrage should be there already because this man said over and over and over and over and over again how we're not going to pay for the wall.
Mhm.
And now we're looking at Congress talking about how they're going to pay for the wall. It's not, we shouldn't be talking about how we're going to pay for it because you promised that we weren't going to pay for it.
Mhm.
Right.
Like, yeah, but already it seems like, I mean, I know people are, I don't know, I guess people should be more outraged, even though maybe we are outraged, but it's just so much.
Yeah,
so
and we
much
can
shit that he's
and we can
doing.
find the freaking money to build a $50 billion wall along the Mexican border, but we can't find what it was at 38 million to fix the pipes in Flint, Michigan.
Yeah.
Let's have that conversation.
Exactly.
Like,
yes.
no, I do not want. They they passed a bill this week to make the Hyde Amendment permanent because I don't want my tax dollars going for abortion. Well, you know what? I don't want my tax dollars paying for a freaking wall on the Mexican border. I want my money to go to those pipes in Flint.
Exactly.
So can we have that conversation? Because if I can choose where my
Yes.
tax dollars go, I'm going to choose to actually help little children in Flint, Michigan, not have
poisoned
water on a daily basis. So it's just I've gotten to the point where I'm almost non-functional at the end of most days when I read through this Facebook post of today's damage report on
I have
what
to
all
try
happened.
to stay off there as much as possible. Like I can't not go on there because we promote stuff on there and I do like seeing like different articles just and I mean I am interested to read and to know like more about what exactly this all means, but yeah, other than that, like I have to try to stay off and like because it's just too much, it's too depressing. And yeah and we're not even a weekend, we're literally a weekend, like help us Jesus.
Okay, so we jumped straight past the good part of our agenda from the inauguration to the White House dysfunction. Back to the inauguration, the huge thing that Trump was so upset about was the debate over crowd size.
Yeah.
And that immediately got into a huge look at whether or not we can believe what the White House is saying, because the White House swears it was like the largest crowd in human history.
Period. Yes.
Yes.
Period. The
Like,
largest crowd. Period.
You put a period on the end. When people put something and say something and put a period on the end, that means they're lying.
Yeah.
Don't believe that person at all. Like, no.
An even larger crowd than what was at the inauguration by any measure was on Saturday, the Women's March on Washington. Just completely filled the mall. in DC was joined in Ohio by massive marches. Cincinnati, Cleveland, Chillicothe, Dayton.
Mhm.
There wasn't one in Toledo, but I know women from Toledo went to Ann Arbor. There was a huge march there. Just all 7
over.
continents.
Antarctica.
Yes.
There's people. If there's women protesting you in Antarctica, and you're the president of the United States, you doing something wrong. Like,
Well, and the people who were complaining about how it was chilly here, they did one in, I think it was Juneau, Alaska. It was -12 outside, and they like did a full-on march and outdoor thing. So yeah, I mean, it was everywhere.
Yeah,
it was. I was in Dayton. I think they said in Dayton there ended up being around 3,000 people. It was like, wow. Yeah. That made me really, really proud.
I mean, 3,000 people in Dayton, Ohio was a massive
lot
crowd.
of people. Yeah, that's a lot of, because I was like, no one should ever ask me about crowd size because I'm a terrible guesstimator. I was like, oh, this is 10,000 people. Like, but it seemed like it because we were in the courthouse square is not like a huge area. I mean, that's where they do their pride at, but it's still not a huge area. So 3,000 people is like a lot.
Yeah, the number of people who showed out, the number of marches of individual marches that were scheduled across the country and around the world was amazing. Did you watch any of you were at the Dayton March. So I was tweeting all of the marches. So I got to see the show in DC was a really well-produced stage production.
I didn't actually get to watch it.
It was great. I mean, Alicia Keys, Madonna dropped a bunch of F-bombs on
I
scene.
heard about that. I heard.
Janelle Monáe.
I heard she said she wanted to bomb the White House.
Yeah, well, it's Madonna, so whatever. Obviously, Cecile Richards, many leaders from various parts of the feminist movement, labor leaders.
Yeah.
I saw a ton. I think in my estimation, and maybe I'm wrong, but from what I saw, it looked like more than half the women that were taking to the microphone were women of color.
Yeah.
There was a lot of women stepping up, talking about how they were Muslim and, were representing their communities. Really terrific, for all the criticism about, oh, this sounds like a standard white woman thing.
Yeah.
What we saw on TV was not,
a
majority white with, a couple token people of color. This was
I feel
really
like
good
it was
production.
the same at all the ones that I've been to. Granted, I've only been to the one here and in Dayton. But considering that Columbus and Dayton are both majority white cities, I mean, there were still a lot of people of color there. Yeah. There's still a lot of women of color there at both marches, and also speakers. As far as Dayton, there were speakers from Planned Parenthood. Sharon Newhart spoke, and also some speakers from a Hispanic organization, which I need to get the names. But so there was a good mixture of the speakers who actually went up there and talked. So I thought it was really, really good.
Yeah. I mean, a really good day for a really shitty reason.
Yes.
Yeah, and I have seen articles going back and forth about, the whole, was this a white woman's march and people being there. But I think overall, I mean, obviously people can have dissenting opinions, but I think overall the people who actually went were there. They felt like it was, very welcoming and very intersectional and, discussing issues of economic justice, racial justice. So that was good.
Yeah, I think there were some individual incidents that I've read about in various places, but I think, overall, I think at least the organizers saw, although we had all those dysfunctions really leading up to it last week, but in the end, the organizers really did see the value in making it. I mean, and the platform itself was one of the most intersectional platforms.
Exactly.
Exactly. It went all the way.
Nothing can be perfect. Nothing can be perfect.
Yeah, I mean, it went all the way to supporting sex workers. And those kinds of things.
That's pretty progressive.
It was one of the most progressive things. So, and I think now too, the call is, if you went to DC or if you went to one of these local marches, marching is great. And I'm glad that you had a fabulous, wonderful day because we need those moments, because we need to take care of ourselves and find our communities in this time of God knows what. But now we need to get active. Now we need to do stuff and get active in your community. Find an organization you want to volunteer with, be it us or NARAL or Planned Parenthood or
Us or NARAL.
Us or NARAL. I'm
Either
doing
one.
two plugs for us before going on to anyone else.
Like volunteer with me personally. Help me with my mental health.
Yeah, exactly. Can't speak any longer. Brain dead. But no, I think that, making sure, and we're seeing it with, RSVPs for events, and
Yes.
there was a ridiculous send off for the March for Life, which is happening today. And we're going to do what Trump predicted and ignore that. But they had a thing in Dayton on that, and without any sort of organization or people like us even knowing each other, according to Gabe, who was also there, there was a counter protest to that. I think people are energized and want to get involved. So, find your group and get involved in some way, because the march was a great start. We just need to build the movement after the march. The march wasn't the be all end all.
Yeah. And they did share, the 10 days of action in the first 100 days. So I thought that was really good. Like immediately after, be like, okay, rest one day. And then we got to get back to work.
You're still on the bus. You can do this.
Yeah, exactly. But it is important, like, to take care of yourself. And if you don't want to be on social media, don't be on, and you don't have to go to every event, that's important. But yeah, I was happy that they put that out still, as far as, because we still have to have stuff we need to do, because like you said, marching is great, but there's still other like tangible tasks that we can do. And we have to think about, even though I'm definitely thinking about 2018, I'm also thinking about stuff that we can do that doesn't really have anything to do with the legislature, because we don't have the numbers right now. That's just reality. So we have to think of other things we can do.
Yep.
Right. And there are reasons for there being things to do. So last week, we saw a federal version of the 6-week ban introduced in Congress. It's a federal heartbeat ban, or as I call it, the fartbeat ban.
Yes.
Because it's a completely legit contraction of federal heartbeat.
Yes.
It's the fartbeat bill.
Yes.
Also proves that you're a father of 2 young sons.
Yeah, well, so they're starting to look at this in Congress. It's the cast of usual suspects there. Steve King of Iowa is the main sponsor for the bill. He's the sponsor of many other horrible ideas. So we'll see where that goes. It sounds like they're coming up with the sort of standard resistance that you get when you introduce a 6-week abortion ban. Everyone in the room says, "Hey, isn't that unconstitutional?" And
then Janet says, "No, it's totally not."
Right. Janet Folger Porter, the
period.
The inventor of the bill, she was there in Congress trying to get as much camera time as humanly possible, as she always does. Yeah. So it's now on members of Congress, which I think is interesting, because for the past 6 years in Ohio, what do you think about the heartbeat bill has kind of been a litmus test more and more for politicians going into office. And it didn't really matter if they were going, trying to get elected to an office that would see that piece of state legislation. County commissioners and city council members were being asked, well, what do you think about the heartbeat bill? And it's like, well, it doesn't matter what they think about it. It's state legislation and not some, county resolution.
Yeah.
And members of Congress were being asked to weigh in. So now they're going to have to take a side on this. It'll be very interesting, because I believe, I would assume, that the division that's existed within the state of Ohio between legislators who are in favor of, throwing everything against the wall and seeing what sticks, and trying to destroy Roe in this way, versus the other anti-abortion legislators that take that Ohio right to life. Let's chip away at it. Let's pass little incremental things, which are always damaging, but not as massively all in one swoop draconian.
Yeah,
it'll be kind of scary, interesting to see how Congress comes out on this.
Yeah,
I don't know, man. Part of me is like, if they're going to hear this, like, hurry up and hear it while Ginsburg and Kennedy are still on there.
Right.
If we're going to, because we already know how they're going to. So I don't know. Yeah.
Well, that's also not the only thing. I think that what's also happening there too is that this is going to cover them for doing other bad shit, because we know that they're going to introduce a 20-week ban.
Yeah.
Right.
And we know that they've already passed in the House a codification of the Hyde Amendment. So the Hyde Amendment, which blocks Medicaid funding for federal funding through Medicaid for abortion care, unless it's rape or incest or life of the woman, has been something that they've passed as a budget resolution year after year after year. So it had to be redone every single year.
Right.
So House resolution.
Will this take out the exceptions? And it'll
No,
just
it
be-
still has the exceptions in it. And they didn't actually make them worse, which is interesting, because before they've been talking about this whole legitimate rape. It has to be reported to police.
forcible
bullshit.
rape.
Yeah, forcible rape, which is actually Ohio law
Yeah.
already, but they didn't actually make it worse. But
Yeah.
they did codify it. So House Resolution 7 passed
And
by the House.
speaking of exceptions, you mentioned, just for our listeners, life of the mother. That's not the same, life of the woman. That's not the same as health of the woman.
No, it's life. So she has to be about to die.
Yeah.
So if she's got a health
That's
condition,
the exception in the bill. It's life, not health.
yeah, it's always been the Hyde Amendment. So women right now on Medicaid in Ohio
Will have to be
who are
about to
having,
die.
who are having
Yeah.
health issues. I mean, we've talked to doctors before. They talk about how they have to wait until their Medicaid patients are about to die before they can help them.
And that's not like some sort of, well, you're almost about to die, now we're going to save your life and return your health.
No. She's bleeding out here on the table right now. We need to do something,
Right.
rather than we
And
think
there's no
she's going to
guarantee
hemorrhage.
that they're going to be
so-
able to stop whatever has gone wrong.
Mhm.
But if you go into your doctor and the doctor says there's something wrong, this is going to threaten your health, that's not reason in these legislators' eyes for you to terminate a pregnancy.
Yeah, like preeclampsia is actually a perfect example of that. It's a, it starts out as a slightly elevated blood pressure. It causes death on the other end. So, and the only way to treat it is to end the pregnancy. So if she's at, 25, 26, 27 weeks, they deliver said baby and hope for the best for both of them. If she's before that, she has to make a decision on terminating the pregnancy. And, so a woman on Medicaid doesn't get to make that choice until she's away over here about to die with kidney failure and other problems that come with preeclampsia. So the House codified that, made it actual law. Well, they passed their bill to make it actual law. It still has to go through the Senate, and then the Senate, because they've got the 60 vote rules and those kinds of things. Hopefully we can get that part blocked. But so, it'll be, an interesting ride on the Senate. So I think the heartbeat bill is kind of functioning in the federal level in the same way that it functioned here in Ohio.
Big distraction.
As a big distraction that will probably never go anywhere, at least for now, because they know they don't have the votes.
Right.
I mean, even with Trump's appointee, which should have been Obama's
Exactly.
confirmed nominee
Yes.
to the Supreme Court, they're still at a 5-4.
Exactly.
So we're still at a 5-4. So, they don't have the votes on the Supreme Court right now. So we'll see what happens there. But
Right.
And then on the
RBG,
yeah,
hang on.
I'm gonna put her in a little bubble. When she was at the inauguration, I was like, "What is that woman doing outside? Like on that stage? Like what the hell? No, bubble zone box all the time."
Right. So that was the fart beat bill.
Yes.
Back to the state. The 6-week ban was vetoed here in Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
Starting on January 1st, we got a brand new legislative session. So all the bills,
Yes.
that didn't pass last time, if they want to retry them, they reintroduce from scratch. So, since we've seen it every other legislative session, it's likely that we will see another version of this 6-week ban, the heartbeat bill, come back to the Ohio legislature.
Yeah.
And the difference between
I really honestly feel at this point like they have nothing else to bring to the table.
Nope.
I'm sure they'll come up with something.
I mean, could they please be a little bit more original? Like, geez.
I don't know if you really want to wish for that,
Yeah,
honey. Like that's a wish you really just don't want. But no, the new session did actually start on January 1st. They've had a couple kind of perfunctory session days. It really does sound like next week they're actually going to get down to business. Monday, we expect to see what they call the governor's blue book, which is the governor's version of the state budget.
Mm-hmm.
So we expect that to come out sometime Monday afternoon. He's required by law to do it by the 31st. So we're expecting it on Monday, the 30th. And then we're starting to hear that some of the first bills will probably be introduced in the House and the Senate next week. As long as the Blue Book does get introduced on Monday, the House Finance Committee, which is the first committee that takes up the budget, will actually start hearings on the state budget on I think it's Tuesday and Wednesday next week.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we're going to really start seeing some action going on in the state house. I think that's the one bonus we do get with the 2-year continuous with a lame duck that always turns out to be completely and totally ridiculous, is that our legislature gets a slightly slower start than a lot of other states that have already kind of fully entered into their crazy sessions. So we'll see next week on if we do see some of these bills. I wouldn't be surprised too to see some of the fetal tissue disposal bills back again, because those did not go anywhere and they are still kind of really pushing on that subject as well.
Yeah. Other states have tried it, notably Indiana, who's, Mike Pence's Indiana has been just a complete clusterfuck.
Mm-hmm.
And, they've been grumbling about this for quite some time. There were other pieces of legislation that Ohio Right to Life left on the table last term. We'll undoubtedly see them try and reintroduce some of those.
I would also not be surprised to see what they call the so-called Pastor Protection Act come back, which protects stupidly ministers from being forced to do marriages they don't want to do, which is actually already their First Amendment right. So they already have the right not to do that. But we're going to pass this law just to be hateful assholes. Yeah, to be hateful.
Yeah, hateful and pointless.
Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that come back with the heartbeat bill.
That's really stupid.
Yep.
And so then the last horrible piece of policy that we want to talk about is the reinstatement of the Global Gag Rule.
Yes.
By 45 over there in the White House.
Really, Mike Pence?
Yeah.
Right, because it's not like Donald Trump even understood what this was in the past.
No,
he might not understand what it is.
No, like Donald Trump was thinking, I'm gonna get in there and I'm gonna reverse this global gag rule on like, no, of course this is from Mike Pence.
Right.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't know shit. Mike Pence probably has to help him tie his shoes.
Michelle Goldberg has a really good explanation of it in Slate magazine. I'll include the link in the show notes. She points out that not only is the global gag rule back, because this was something created during the Bush administration. Obama got rid of it, and so now 45 has re-signed it. The previous version of the global gag rule. So for people who don't know, this says that if you're getting federal funds from the U.S. government anywhere around the world, then you can't do abortions or you can't promote abortions. So if
you can't talk about,
you can't
just promote abortion.
Yeah.
It's very similar to how our defunding Planned Parenthood happened here in Ohio.
Yeah.
It's this promoting abortion.
Whatever that means.
So if a woman walks in and says, hey, how does abortion work? You can't answer their questions anymore. That's the gag in Global Gag.
Yeah.
And if you're going to continue to answer those questions, you can't get funds from the U.S. government to help provide health care. So the previous version of the global gag rule impacted $600 million in U.S. foreign aid that was related to, I believe, family planning funding. This version, the Trump version, affects $9.5 billion of aid that's just across the board healthcare aid.
Yeah,
so it's not tied down to just family planning providers. This impacts, they say, people working on AIDS, malaria, maternal and child health, all sorts of healthcare programs that we have an interest in continuing. We're threatening their funding if they talk about abortion.
Yeah. So it's not just the family planning money that Bush gagged. It's all of our international healthcare aid. So Zika money, all of these things that, malaria, tuberculosis, all of these things are now tied. If your organization dares to speak the word abortion out loud, you can no longer get this money. I read an article, it was an op-ed in the New York Times where they said that they actually, during the Bush years, when he signed that piece of paper, 16 countries lost all of their imports of birth control from the United States. 16 countries.
Right.
Lost all of that access.
And you mentioned Zika. When we're talking about that, that's a very legitimate reason to terminate a pregnancy. I mean,
Mhm.
it's up to the woman. Don't.
They're
read too
all
much into-
legitimate reasons.
Okay, so that's
Yes.
that's a very serious health
Yes.
crisis
Mhm.
Yeah.
that does lead women to make the choice to terminate a pregnancy.
Uh-huh.
That's what I meant.
Yeah.
And so they're not going to stop terminating pregnancies if they are having, developing signs of microencephaly and developing those pregnancy complications.
Mhm.
And so it's not like they can just opt out of getting Zika.
Mhm.
Yeah.
They have to terminate those pregnancies or, raise children, attempt to raise children with severe birth defects. And so if they continue to do that, which they have to do, then they're losing out on, the AIDS funding. They're
Mhm.
losing out on malaria funding, it says here.
Mhm.
So,
Or they're forcing that woman to go someplace completely unsafe and illegal to get that
right.
procedure.
This is like the cruelest ever catch-22 to poor countries all around the world, $9.5 billion.
I also find it really interesting on the Zika front that we all now don't care about it because we're not going to Brazil to go to the Olympics anymore. Have you noticed that? Like, we haven't been talking about anybody having problems with Zika after we all left Rio
Right.
after the Olympics.
Right.
Like, it all just went away. All the white people were leaving, South America, so we don't need to pay attention to that anymore.
Mhm.
That just occurred to me in my brain. I wanted to say that out loud.
So now that you've said that, I really want to watch and see if there is a March, April, spring break resurgence of this in the media. Because all the little rich kids are going to come back from Cancun, and is this suddenly going to be headline worthy?
Yeah, because we all think about it. Like in Ohio, we have a mosquito season because right now, as I watch snow fall down outside of our window, no mosquitoes are actually surviving right now. But in Rio, in Central America, and in the Caribbean, they're still buzzing around having a grand old time because it doesn't get cold there. So, the same Zika issue that existed before the Olympics and during the Olympics is still existing right now. It's just that, we don't care about it anymore because we're not going. So, that's, and it's been interesting to see other countries and what they're doing. I guess the Netherlands, I saw an article yesterday, the Netherlands is actually stepping up. Their prime minister said that they would step up the amount of foreign aid that they give for healthcare and family planning services without any, gags attached to it.
Yeah.
And they've heard from, I guess, many other countries. I'll send a link to Gabe so I can put it in the show notes. And have raised, I think it's somewhere in the range of maybe like $5 to $15 million. I mean, it's still a drop in the bucket to this billions of dollars that we're losing. But other countries are stepping up and saying, no, that's not right. We're going to try to do what we can to
because
help
for them it's
this.
not a political issue.
No.
It's just a healthcare issue. We're the only ones who've made it into like this stark political issue for whatever, because the right made it into a political issue because they were losing on the front of civil rights. And so they had to figure out a way to gin up their base. So they talked about abortion.
Yep.
It's
we also are completely puritanical in our sex and don't want people to have sex. But,
how dare women have sex for pleasure?
Exactly.
Okay. On that
And,
note.
and I'm like, that's from other women.
Yeah.
I feel bad for those women. I'm like, you must have never had an orgasm in your life. But
one of my
I digress.
Yeah, one of my favorite, actually, on that topic, one of my favorite lobby day stories was from our very first lobby day. We had like 7,500 people. It was our smallest, because it was the very first one, and people came. It was I forget her name. Representative Breidelbeck, the woman from, like, I think it's Duffy's district now. I think it was like the Worthington area. I think that's the right word, but I'll check it. But they came back from their meeting with this female state representative, and we were talking about birth control and comprehensive sex ed and all these things. And she told our lobby day crew that went to her office that sex was only for procreation. And she only had sex to procreate in her marriage. And they were like, I didn't even know. I didn't know what to, they all were just like, we just kind of ended the meeting because none of us knew what the hell to say. And she has 2 kids. So obviously she had sex at least twice. But it was just one of those.
Probably not more than that.
It was just one of those, like, not only did she kind of do the blanket statement, which we know they all believe, that sex should always be open to procreation and you shouldn't do anything to like stop that from happening, but that, that's what she practiced in her own personal relationship. And yeah, they came back. It was funny because you could tell something had gone like totally weird because they all kind of came in with this shocked, like, I don't know, it just happened look on their face. So yeah.
There's some weird people that get elected to the state
Yes!
legislature.
Yes. Why would you in your I mean, I don't care. I don't care about people having premarital sex, but why would you, if you do care about, even in your marriage, you wouldn't have sex with your husband only to have what? Okay, let's move on because she's fucking crazy. Okay, yeah, that's insane. That is insane. Like, no. Yes. But there are people. But you're right. There are people that believe that sex should only be for procreation.
Then they end up like the Duggars or the Johnstons here or whatever with their 19 or 10 or whoever many kids, and they move on.
Or they don't end up like that because they never have sex.
Yep.
If she only had 2 kids. I mean, damn, like, I'm sorry. That's just insane to me. Like, why would
And then you have
that?
excessive pent-up aggression and you pass stupid policies. This is where this comes from.
Sexual frustration.
Yes.
Gabe's figured out the key to everything.
I shouldn't judge. She could have a vibrator, so, I mean.
It's possible.
You know the woman that says
I
those
know
words.
she doesn't have a vibrator. I know.
It's horrified by the idea of a vibrator.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway. So completely off track.
I don't know. Maybe she's got 100 of them.
That's just so crazy. Yeah.
Wouldn't that be great if she had like a little basement and just lining the walls, just dildo after dildo after dildo?
That would make more sense than never having sex.
Yes, it would.
That would make more sense.
Yeah.
But it's not the case.
Well, that's the thing. It's so funny how different religions treat all this stuff because, so much of that is biblically based that, that we teach kids that sex is dirty and gross and only it's funny. Sex is dirty and gross and you shouldn't do it before you're married, but it's this wonderful, beautiful thing to do within a married relationship. I'm like, how does that switch when you put a ring on the finger?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not following that. But one of the things that I love about, there's a fabulous sex ed program that's based in the UU, the Unitarian Church, and the United Church of Christ. They created this Our Whole Lives program.
Mm-hmm.
And it's based off of God gave us sex because it's fabulous and wonderful and should be celebrated. And here's everything you need to know about it.
Yeah. If you're doing it right. I mean.
So, and so it, it never kind of gives that, don't do it. This is bad and evil kind of message.
Are you going to be a chewed up piece of gum?
Exactly.
No.
It comes from, their moral beliefs and their moral base and those kinds of things. And it's just this very interesting, when you decide that it's right for you and here's how you protect yourselves and here's information about abortion and adoption and, in the whole spectrum of things. So it really, kind of gives a healthy base for people to work from of, when you feel it's ready, you're ready.
Yeah.
It's this wonderful, beautiful thing. And here's how you be healthy about it and everything else. So
exactly.
That's a much better way to look at it.
Instead of this shaming.
Yeah. Don't do it. Sex is bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gabe's just gonna sit here
talking about
staring
sex
at us.
That's important though.
Yeah.
And especially if you're also someone there that's LGBT, like then they didn't even include you until recently because you couldn't get married. Yeah. So I guess you were also just going to be celibate for the rest of your life. Like, no.
You say that as if these churches recognize those marriages.
That is true. They don't, but that's okay.
It's not they're like, well, we couldn't recognize that before, but now there's a Supreme Court case.
That's true. They still don't recognize it,
These
which is the
churches did
sad
not
part.
Have some moment.
No, they didn't.
No.
Well, they should. I mean, that's why people are running away from you. So if you want to keep people there, keep your doors open. I would think they would have an awakening, but I guess not. Whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let's close it out with you want to sing?
Let's get it on. Okay, yay. We have a lot of events coming up because the Roe anniversary was just on the
Sunday.
Yes. Which was the 22nd, so I had the right date. The 22nd is what I said. I know I got away from my microphone. Anyway, we're having a lot of Roe Together activist boot camps. They're going to be inside. We're going to have breakout sessions, doing like storytelling and media training. yeah, so it's going to be really good. We're going to have one here in Columbus on February 8th,
Nope.
Wednesday.
Before that.
Oh, sorry. Before that, sorry, I was going geographically.
Oh.
That's how my brain works.
Chronologically.
Okay, chronologically, we're having one this Tuesday.
Yep.
Yes, Tuesday, January 31st in Cincinnati. Go on our Facebook. You can go on Facebook, click Roe Together. All the events will come up in the different cities.
Links in the show notes for all of this.
Yeah, exactly. So 31st, Cincinnati, February 8th here in Columbus, February 18th in Dayton,
February
and
9th in Cleveland.
February 9th in Cleveland. Yeah, we're also having ones up north.
Mm-hmm.
So, but again, all the links will be in the show notes. So please come out and join us. Should be a good time.
Yeah.
A lot of our partner organizations are partnering with us to, put this together.
Yep. And the one in Toledo is being planned. So if you're in the Northwest Ohio area, hang tight. We're working on a date and things up there. So
Right. And then on February 15th is the Comedy for Choice
yep.
event at the Ace of Cups bar in Columbus. February 15th for that.
Yep.
So go to facebook.com/NARAL Pro-Choice Ohio and click on events, and you'll find information for all of these, or like I said, in the show notes.
Cool.
Okie doke.
All righty.
We'll see everybody next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.